Anything from 2023, anything at all. Just tell me, I can explain everything. I never meant for any of this to look the way it looks. Please, I played the ninth one twice. I wrote down 3 words on a sticky note. Insurance records, explain. The 10th voicemail was even quieter. Brooke, I'm your mother. Please, if you ever loved me, please call. The 11th was 4 seconds. Just tell her, saying my name. The 12th was the longest, 2 minutes 35 seconds. She talked about my childhood. She talked about how hard she'd worked. She talked about Hayden's surgery and how she'd been the one who arranged everything afterwards. She talked about how she always wanted was the best for both of us. She did not in 2 minutes and 35 seconds use the word wedding once. I deleted none of them. I forwarded all 12 to my own email with a subject line that read 3-15 voicemails preserved. Then I called the legal counsel for our hospital and asked hypothetically what the duty of a co-signer was when they suspected misuse. He told me hypothetically what a co-signer's rights were. He told me hypothetically that if my name was on a financial instrument without my knowledge, I should pull my own credit report before doing anything else. I thanked him. I did not pull the report yet. I had one stop to make first. I drove 3 hours to Knoxville on Wednesday, March 18th, my father's home. He was always home on Wednesdays. He'd retired from full-time contracting last year. He took small jobs now from friends. On Wednesdays, he sat back on his porch and read the paper. I didn't call ahead. He opened the door. He looked at me. He didn't ask why I was there. I'll put the coffee on, he said. Sit down. We sat in the living room, same brown couch he had since 1998, same coffee table with a single copper ring he'd never sanded out. He came back with 2 mugs and a folder. The folder was thick, brown cardstock. There was dust on the top right-hand corner. I had kept this, he said. I told myself I'd never show you. I'm glad you came before I had to. He set the folder down on the coffee table between us. He opened it. The first page was a photocopy of a private student loan application from January 2022. My signature was at the bottom. Brooke L. Palmer, co-signer. I knew about this when she did it, he said. She told me you wanted to. I knew you didn't. I knew she made it sound like you did. I stared at the signature. Why did you save this? I asked. He looked at me. In case you ever asked. I sat back against the couch. He sipped his coffee. Dad, how long have you had this folder? Since May of 2018. 6 years and 10 months. I add to it when something new comes. How often do you add to it? Not often. Maybe twice a year. Sometimes she goes a long time without doing anything I can put on the paper. Then she does. I looked at the folder. It was maybe 3 in thick. 6 years. What else is there? He turned the pages. It was an explanation of benefits from a company I've never heard of. Crossland Health Supplement. The policyholder line said Brooke L. Palmer. I didn't have a CrossPoint Health supplemental policy. The claim was for 12 physical therapy sessions, CPT code 97110. Provider Whitman PT Clinic, 421 Magnolia Avenue. Total claim paid $7,800. Date of service October 14, 2023 through to December 21st, 2023. My brother had been in Knoxville from October the 1st onwards, sleeping on a couch at the dorm. He had not driven to Knoxville for physical therapy. He had not driven for anything. He never went, I said. He told me. My father said he told me last Thanksgiving. He didn't think anything of it. He said his shoulder felt fine. He said Mom told him not to bother. I looked at the policyholder line again. My name. How did she open a policy in my name? He took a slow breath. She has your social. She had it since she was 16. She did this before from 2017 to 2018. 3 credit cards, about 14,000. I found out in May of 2018. I told her she stops or I leave. She chose. I left. I held the EOB in my hand for a long time. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He looked at the ceiling for a second. Because I didn't want to be the reason you stopped loving your mother. I wanted you to figure it out yourself. I was hoping you never would. And the credit cards, did you pay those off? He nodded. He didn't say anything. How much? It's done. Don't think about it, Dad. He looked at me. His eyes were tired in a way I've never seen on him before. Not in the hospital where his own father died. Not at my college graduation. Not at the barbecue. I sold the boat, he said, and I took out a small line of credit. I paid it off over 4 years. Your credit was clean by 2019. You never knew because there was nothing for you to know. That was the point. I put my hand over my mouth. He cleared his throat. Don't, Brooke. I don't want you to do that. I made a decision. I'll never make it again, Dad. Brooke, listen to me. I would have given you anything to keep you from finding out who she was. I failed at keeping you from finding out. I did not fail at the rest of it. I put the EO back in the folder. He turned one more page. It was a handwritten note, his handwriting in pencil on a piece of yellow legal paper. The date at the top said May 11th, 2018. Brooke does this. She always does this. I left because I couldn't watch her do it to you anymore. Whatever you decide to do, I will stand behind it. Dad, I folded the note. I put it in my pocket. I said I need to go to Owen's office tomorrow. My father nodded. You don't owe me anything, he said. I want you to know that I already know. And whatever you decide, wherever you draw the line, I'm there. I stayed for another hour. We didn't talk about her. We talked about the apartment. He asked me if Owen liked Tennessee whiskey. I said yes. He went into a cabinet and brought out a bottle he'd been keeping since 2019. He said he'd been saving it for a wedding he thought he might never see. He poured an inch into the paper cup for each of us, and we drank it standing in the kitchen. He hugged me at the door. He is not a man who hugs. He held on for a long time. Drive safe, he said. Call me when you're at home. I drove home. I called him. He answered on the first ring. The envelope he'd given me on the morning of the wedding was sitting in my purse. I opened it in the car, in the driveway, before I drove back to Nashville. Inside was a copy of the same handwritten note, same yellow paper, same date. He'd kept the original in the folder and put a duplicate in my hand on the day I got married in case I never asked. He'd been ready for 6 years. I cried in the driveway for about 3 minutes. Then I drove home. On Thursday, March 19th, I went to Owen's office after hours. He was finishing notes at his desk. He looked up when I came in. I need you to tell me something, but I need you to be careful how you tell me. I said, I don't want you to violate HIPAA. I want you to tell me what the standard care plan looks like after a labour and repair, and whether your office has any record of any kind or a referral to a clinic in East Knoxville called Whitman PT. He looked at me for a long second. Standard care after labour and repair is 12 sessions, he said. I can tell you generally that our office has no record of an external referral for Hayden Palmer to a clinic called Whitman PT or to any clinic outside of our system. That's a billing fact I can confirm without opening his chart. The discharge sheet I signed in September of 2023, Pacific pre-approved external providers with documented referral. There was no documented referral. I took the discharge sheet out of my bag. I kept it in the bottom drawer of my desk for 2.5 years. I laid it flat on his desk next to the EOB. He looked at both pages for a long time. This is a fraud, Brooke, he said. This is federal. I know. What do you want me to do? I sat on the edge of his chair. I said I want one conversation. Then I want my Saturdays back. I want to be specific about what I did over the next 5 weeks because the version of this story where I just decided everything in one night isn't true. The first week I called a family law attorney I worked with on a hospital matter once. Her name was Holly Briggs. She charged me for 40 minutes of her time. She told me that having a super mental health policy opened in my name without my consent was an identity fraud. She told me that being a co-signer who had been deceived about the use of funds was a civil matter at best, criminal at worst. She told me I could pursue both. She told me gently that pursuing both would cost me 5 years of my life. She said most women in your situation use the threat, they don't pull the trigger. I asked her how to use the threat without lying. She told me. She also told me to do 3 things in writing before I sat across from her. Pull your credit report, save every communication, decide what you want before you walk in, not after. I wrote down those 3 things on a new index card. I kept new index cards now, habit from a different room. The second week I pulled my credit report. It was free. I've been doing it every year for 2 years since 2019. I have never looked at it carefully. This time I did. CrossPoint Health Supermental was listed under my insurance account, opened February 14, 2022, 3 weeks after I'd co-signed the first private loan for Hayden. It was not the only thing on the report I hadn't authorised. There was a small store credit card for a furniture store in Brentwood opened in November 2023 with a balance of $212 and a payment history of current. I had never been to that furniture store. I had never bought anything from that furniture store. The card was paid every month on time by an account ending in numbers that did not match any of my accounts. She opened a card in my name, then paid it on time so I wouldn't notice it on my report. She had been protecting her own infrastructure. I sat in my home office with the print out in my hand, and I understood for the first time that the loan and the policy were not isolated incidents. They were a system. She had been running a small, careful system on my name for years, and the only reason she'd never been caught was that she never let any of it default. I called Holly Briggs back. I added the card to the file. She said, document everything, photograph the reports, keep the originals. I did. The third week, my mother's calls slowed. 8 calls Monday, 5 Tuesday, 2 Wednesday, then nothing for 2 days, then a text on Saturday morning, Brooke, I'm scared, please. I didn't answer. That same Saturday, I drove out to Brentwood. I parked across the street from the furniture store and I watched it for 10 minutes. It was a small place, family owned. The owner was a man in his 60s who waved at customers through the glass. There was nothing wrong with the store. The store had no idea what had happened. The store was just a name on a piece of paper my mother had used to keep her system tidy. I drove home. I didn't tell Owen what I'd done. I would tell him later. The fourth week, I drafted 11 sentences in a notebook. I wrote them. I crossed them out. I wrote them again. The first draft was angry. I crossed it out. The second draft was apologetic in the way women learn to apologize, even when they are the ones owed an apology. I crossed it out. The third draft was 11 sentences long. I read them out loud in the kitchen at 6 in the morning with Owen at the counter, pretending not to listen. I asked him at the end if he wanted to change anything. He said, "This is yours. Say it the way you need to."